Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. As you can tell, I am actually in a hotel room, a little bit of a different setting today, but welcome back. My name is Geoff Fagien, and today we're talking about the new release from Blackmagic, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro, which is an interesting release. I think a lot of people were guessing all over the place. I didn't necessarily think they were going to go this direction, but essentially what we're going to talk about today is what was the release, what is new about the Pocket 6K Pro, and what were some of the things that were not spoken about during the press release that are kind of some interesting updates that are available with this camera and may potentially be coming down the line via firmware updates to the Pocket 6K and some of the stuff that is coming to the Pocket 4K. So without further ado, let's pull up the Pocket 6K Pro. So here is the Blackmagic website, and let me pull over here. And so as you see, we have the Blackmagic website. The Pocket 6K Pro is going to be $24.95. So it's the price of the 6K when it was originally launched. So some of the new features, well, there is internal ND filters now. That's great. The screen is much brighter. It's an HDR screen, and it is articulating, which is pretty neat. And otherwise, when you first look at that, once you get past the articulating screen, and the internal ND filters, you would think that that's really all that's coming that's new, and there's a few other features. So they are using smaller Sony MPF batteries, which give a little bit more battery life. So with the Sony MPF batteries, if you don't get their new battery grip, you're going to get about the same amount of battery life as using the LPE6 batteries with the original Pocket 4K. So you're still only looking at about 60 minutes of battery life, and that's if the screen is at 50% power. So even with this Pocket 6K Pro, getting an external power solution is probably still going to be your best bet. Once through that, let's talk about the things that they did not discuss about the Pocket 6K Pro, and then we'll get into some of the stuff that they've already gone over. So some of the things they haven't gone over, which we will scroll down here, actually has to do with codecs and compression. So if you are a Pocket 6K user, you may be used to only being able to record in Blackmagic RAW in 6K, 5.7K, and I believe 1080. But you weren't able to ever do 4K, which is now being changed with this new release. So you can shoot anything from DCI 6K to 6K 241. You still have 5.7K right here. But you also now have the option for 4K shooting, which is very welcome for a lot of shooters that want to be able to shoot in RAW, but they don't necessarily want the 6K space. So that was something that was really big that was kind of glossed over in the press release. The other thing that was really big that's glossed over in the press release is they've added some new compression ratios to the Blackmagic Pocket camera, the 6K Pro, which would be interesting to see if we end up getting those compression ratios in the Pocket 4K and in the 6K. And that is the new Q1 and Q3 compression ratios. So it would be interesting to see what kind of effect that does, because I've actually been filming a lot in Q5, and I think the quality is okay. But having the ability to shoot Q3, which is a variable compressed RAW, that would be interesting. I would probably shoot in Q3 a lot of the times when I'm just doing web work, more than I would shoot in Q5, just to have that little bit of extra quality. And so this new variable codec, this new variable compression codec of BRAW is available in all flavors of RAW. As you see right here, they have this new one pretty much in everything. So there is that, and then there's the typical, they have ProRes LT. Let's pull up another minor thing, which I think I pulled a screenshot of, which I want to pull up on here. I'm just looking for the screenshot. You know what? While I have it, let's pull up some of the other screenshots. So the next new thing, which was explained, was this new eyepiece. So you see Grant holding it in his hand. This is a toolless eyepiece that you can put on top of the Pocket 6K Pro, and it will give you, it'll give you an EVF, which is something that a lot of shooters have wanted. Adding an EVF and the internal ND filters has made the Pocket 6K a much more user-friendly run and gun camera. to the point where I'm considering picking one up. Not necessarily right now, but definitely once these things get out, they're shipping, a lot of people have it in their hands. I'd be interested to pick one up, maybe even rent right off the bat if they are available to rent. Now let's see, I'm trying to go through, there was probably put it on my phone. Essentially, we'll go over it anyway since I don't have the picture, but on the bottom of the camera, there's actually 2 1/4-inch threads, which is very welcome for professional solutions. While I'm talking about it, I made sure that I took a picture of it, so I'm just going to airdrop it to myself. Yep, that's what it was. I put it on my phone because I'm out and about today, out of town, so I did not for the entire thing. Here, let me pull this up right now. Here's the picture. And voila. So on the bottom, you have 2 1/4-inch threads, which is going to make mounting to gimbals, tripods, a lot more secure. That was one of the things that was kind of a bummer on the 6K and the 4K, was that in order to get this more secure, mount solution to be able to mount to a tripod head or a gimbal, you basically had to use a cage, where on this camera, it's got the 2 1/4-inch threads on the bottom. I don't really know why that was glossed over, but it is something to consider. As for me at least, that's a big deal. Then let's go over here. Let's show some pictures over here. Here is the Pocket 6K Pro from the front. And here is the sensor. I believe I have one. Oh, actually, here's what it looks like with the EVF on from the side. I don't know if I'd get the EVF off the bat. It doesn't come with the camera. It is an external purchase or an extra purchase, but it is a welcome purchase. And let's go, trying to pull the other things up. Okay. Well, in the meantime, so let's go over what has been new on this camera so far. So the new features are, you have the, let's go over what I didn't go over. So there are, see from this picture on the side, that is one of the additions that none of the other Pocket cameras have. So by having 2 XLRs, you can either do 2 different inputs mono, or you can actually do a stereo input using the 2 different XLR ports. So a lot of, not a lot of people that I know actually use the internal preamps of the Pocket cameras, even with the XLR. I personally do. But I don't use the internal preamps when I'm putting in, for instance, like concert recordings. I always do that externally, but if I'm doing a talking head interview, I'm absolutely using the internal preamps because I find them much better than, like, for instance, like my Red Komodo. I find the internal preamps on my my Pocket 4K when I've used the Pocket 6K, find them a little bit better, and the ability to have XLR is huge. So yes, for those of you who like XLR, you now have 2 ports on there. Let's pull up, I believe it's the yep, here we go. So let's go over the articulating screen. So right here, as you can see, it is a 1500 nit rotating, or not rotating, but tilting screen, which basically is the mod everyone was getting if they wanted that for the 4K and the 6K. So Blackmagic listened and they put it into their new camera. So if that's something that you guys have been interested in getting, well, now you don't have to do the external mod. You have it stock here in the camera. As far as other new features, we can go back onto the website. It's got the EF mount. I think a lot of people were hoping that it was going to be an RF camera like the Komodo is. It's still EF, but I mean, look, for me personally, I wanted RF so I can do something like an internal ND adapter like I'm using on the Komodo. And the fact that the Pocket 6K Pro has internal NDs, well, I mean, for me, it's not as big of a deal. To a lot of people who wanted RF, including me, I'm actually thinking, at least with the way that they've configured these cameras, I'm not quite sure them doing RF was possible, because if you look at the bottom here, look at the size of the vent. I'll pull up another picture. Here's one on the side. I mean, look at these vents on the side. It needs cooling. This camera needs cooling, and I'm not necessarily sure they're at the point yet where they could have made it an RF mount. But it's not a complaint. They were able to do the internal NDs. It's Super 35. And, you know, you have the external EVF module that is toolless and cordless. So, you know, you can just plop that baby on, and that's something that shooters are really going to welcome. Also, while you guys are here, I'm going to get to the comments in a second. Please drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the Pocket 6K Pro, and, you know, I will bring them up on the stream. So we've been over here. Ben was kind of disappointed. He was hoping for Bacchus. I think a lot of us were too. It was a little disappointing that they kept the exact same form factor, or very similar form factor that was on the Pocket 4K and the 6K. You'll keep your Komodo order in. Yep. Well, that was part of the reason why I got the Komodo as well. The form factor was a huge selling point for me, but I really love Blackmagic. You know, I still have my Pocket 4K. I use it all the time. You know, I hate saying this, I actually use my Pocket 4K more than I use my Komodo. So, you know, the Pocket 6K does make me really happy. I think it is a really nice addition, and it's part of the reason I've held off on buying the 6K, because the 6K wasn't enough of a jump from the 4K for me to make it worth the purchase. But the 6K Pro, well, that may be worth more of an investment than the 6K was, especially to get those additional features, an additional $500. You know, it's a lot more enticing, even as a B cam, to my Red Komodo. Let's see. Mario saying, so should I cancel my order for the Red Komodo and get this one instead? Look, you know, it comes down to with the Red Komodo. Are you going to use the features that the Red Komodo gives you, and are you filming with other Red cameras? If you're filming with other Red cameras on set, or, you know, you want to be an owner-operator that's going to film on set with other Red cameras, the Red Komodo is a much easier choice as far as getting a better day rate, because they're not only paying for you, but they're paying for your gear rental. Now, if you are a one-man band and you are going out and you are doing, you know, one-man band type work, you're shooting like corporate work, maybe music videos, you're not necessarily too worried about not having a global shutter. This Pocket 6K Pro is a very, very enticing offer. I would definitely not. I would definitely look at the Pocket 6K Pro. I would say, because it's a little bit new, I wouldn't necessarily order right off the bat. I would kind of let some people who are much more interested in it kind of take that leap. But with the Komodo, it's a little bit proven. I would keep your Komodo order for now if you're dead set on it. But that's my opinion. I think if you're shooting in a Blackmagic ecosystem and you're not going to ever shoot in a Red ecosystem, and you were just interested in the Komodo because you wanted a Komodo, but there's really no reason for it, then, you know, the Blackmagic makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, so let's move back on to some of the newer features on here. So let's go over to so there is a new body grip for the Pocket 6K Pro. As you can see right here, here's the original body grip. That actually has the part of the battery protruding into the camera, and the newer battery grip just kind of bolts onto the bottom without protruding into the battery compartment of the camera. And what's good about that is the older battery grip, you then sacrifice that internal battery, so you're only using the batteries in the battery grip, whereas now you have the batteries in the battery grip plus your internal battery. So I could see you getting, yeah, they're saying over 3 hours. I'm thinking like you're going to get a little over 2 hours with proper use on this thing, especially if you're using the EVF. But this camera, more than the others, the external battery grip makes a lot more sense. Just looking at the accessories over here, and let's go back to the product page. Just seeing if there's anything else new while I have you guys on here, and I'm checking the comments too. If he has an order, I love the Blackmagic ecosystem. It's just easier to use and to edit and to, yeah. And you know, look, you know, George, I don't know if you caught the beginning, but you know, as much as I love my Komodo, I have it with me. I've been using my Pocket 4K a lot more than my Komodo just for a lot of the client work I've been doing. I love Blackmagic Raw. It's a lot easier to edit. You know, I have this old MacBook that I'm even using to do this live stream on that I can edit all of my Blackmagic Raw files. Whereas on my Komodo, I ended up getting a new 5K iMac for it because this thing could just not handle the files. So editing Blackmagic Raw files, that is amazing. And that was one of the bonuses and kind of one of the big points of the Blackmagic 12K camera was the fact that you can edit the 12K files on a computer like mine. I own the Red Scarlet and it's a beast. Yep. If he has an order, I don't see a reason to cancel it. I agree, Ben. You know, the other thing to remember with the Komodo order is there's a lot of people who have the Komodo on pre-order. So if you cancel it and you change your mind again, then you're going to be set back in the back of that line. And so I feel like if you've pre-ordered the Komodo, you have some intent of what you want it for. Amen. The weight is easier on my back. Yeah. I think the weight on both the Blackmagic and the Komodo, that was kind of the big reason of why I got the Komodo, because of how much lighter it was compared to the other Red cameras. And sorry guys, I'm looking down here. I have my computer here out of frame while I have the camera over here. So I'll just be kind of going back and forth. So we have some of these shots on the website talking about the built-in ND filters. So let's talk about some of the features that we're actually going to be getting now on the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K here. This is a great segue in right here. We got the 3 camera models right here. And I'm going to pull me over here. And maybe I could put myself up like this. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So the cool part is, you know, a lot of us who have been using the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K for the past, I don't want to say year, but it's definitely been more than 6 months. You know, if you used DaVinci Resolve, and I believe now in Premiere it lets you do this as well, we were able to use the Generation 5 color science, but only through editing. We weren't able to use that Generation 5 color science in camera. And with the next firmware update that Blackmagic is putting out, we're now going to be able to have that Generation 5 color science in both the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K, which was one of the things that they very first announced that the 6K Pro was getting. So I'm glad to see that they're still supporting the 4K and the 6K via updates. The 6K is kind of expected that they would still support, but the 4K is now a few years old. So it's great to see that they're still doing that. So we're going to get the Generation 5 update in camera, which is great, that we don't have to, you know, do it through Premiere or DaVinci now. So a lot of monitoring LUTs and whatnot that people have acquired over the past few years for Generation, or not few years, but the past few months for Generation 5, now you can use those in camera. The other thing, it looks like Blackmagic is overhauling some parts of the UI on the Pocket cameras when it comes to the histogram. And, you know, we'll see how that goes. They didn't really show any examples. I'm assuming basically the 4K, the 6K, and the 6K Pro are all going to have the same UI. So they're just making it all uniform with each other. Yes, I agree, Ben. Ben says the Gen 5 color is so nice. And I agree. You know, the Generation 4 color science on the Blackmagic cameras, it really made me fall in love again because I had the original Pocket camera. I had the original Cinema camera. I really liked them, but after having them for a few years, I ended up leaving them for a GH5. I think like a lot of people did. And then when the Pocket 4K came out, I loved it. There was just something missing, and that Generation 5 color science is just amazing. And the fact that, you know, one of the things that I'm not saying, this is my opinion, this is not necessarily, you know, the fact. I believe one of the reasons that the Generation 5 color science is only being released in camera till now is I personally believe it was not optimized for the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K for the past few months. You know, we had the option to use it, but I don't believe they were willing to put it in camera until it was optimized for the 4K and optimized for the 6K. So now that they're putting it in camera, it makes me much happier to use that Generation 5 color science. So I'm interested to see if there's any changes, any looks. Let me know in the comments, guys, what are you using as monitoring LUTs for your Generation 5 color science? I've been using the GH Alex LUT from Emotive Color. I forget what it's called for the Blackmagic, but it was the GH Alex LUT from Emotive Color for the GH5, and that's what I'm using on the Pocket 4K. If I'm reading this right, the Sony battery will only work on the battery grip. So the Sony battery, it works in the camera itself. They are using the smaller Sony MPF batteries, and the Sony battery works in the battery grip. Now, the confusing part was on the original Pocket 4K and 6K. Weird that I have to say that now. On the original Pocket 4K and 6K, it was LPE6 batteries in the camera and Sony NPF batteries in the battery grip. But this new camera, it's Sony NPF batteries all the way around, and it's the same NPF battery whether it's in the camera or in the battery grip. I think there's an internal MPF. Yes, there is an internal MPF. And I'm interested to see, like I was saying in the beginning, they're touting 60 minutes at 50% battery life. I think, the good and the bad is you're getting about the same battery life that you were getting on the Pocket 4K, but it wasn't 60 minutes isn't that great. But it's better than nothing. So I think unless you either get the battery grip that Blackmagic offers, or you're going to have to go back to that V-mount solution, you're probably going to still need an external battery solution with this camera. But the grip does look nice. And I like that it doesn't protrude into the camera. So it also makes it a little bit more portable when you're traveling with it. So let's pull that out. And then, so here's the other question. And now, again, this is a question that I'm posing out there. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I would think it would with the updates coming. So we can go back to let's go back to, I think I have to go up here, and I have to go to tech specs. So now that the Pocket 6K Pro is going to have multiple resolutions, such as 4K DCI, in camera, which the Pocket 6K does not have, but the Pro is going to have. Is Blackmagic going to give Pocket 6K users the 4K DCI? I think they should. I almost think that they will, but you never know. You never know. Do we know for a fact that the Pocket 4K and the 6K, are we actually going to get this new variable frame? Not variable frame. Are we going to get this new Blackmagic Raw variable compression? Are we going to get access to having Q1, Q3? They haven't said anything. They didn't even say that we were getting this compression on the stream, but I'd be interested to see if they're doing it through the whole line, because as a 4K user, I would totally use Q3. Like I was saying earlier, I think that could be a great addition. But I think it would be a missed opportunity if they don't give Pocket 6K users the opportunity to shoot 4K DCI in RAW on their cameras, because a lot of people want to do it to save space. Look, I know a lot of people who shoot on Reds that shoot at 5K, 4K and 5K, and they don't shoot full sensor just to save space. So it happens on the Pocket cameras. Is there an SDI out? No, unfortunately, there is no SDI out. And, it's funny. When I saw that they were calling this the Pocket 6K Pro, I did think that, maybe they're finally going to do an SDI out in this camera. But they're still sticking with HDMI. I think they're sticking with SDI just to the higher end camera. So, I mean, look, you get an Ursa, you'll get SDI out. But I think these lower end, they call them lower end camera, the prosumer cameras, or this is now a pro camera. They're still sticking with HDMI. I really would have hoped that they did SDI, but if you look at the whole ATEM system, which if you guys want to go over that, we can go over that too. The ATEM system is all HDMI, and you can control the cameras over HDMI. So it does make sense why they're going HDMI only, as they have all that camera control. From what I heard, though, you can still use a lot of those protocols over SDI. So it would be nice to see them doing that. Now here, look, I have a picture of the new ATEM switcher. Here's the ATEM Extreme ISO. And so when they said they were going to come out with this new ATEM, even the ATEM, I thought that they were going to do possibly HDMI and SDI, but the ATEM was all HDMI. So again, I feel like kind of a missed opportunity, but then again, I feel like Blackmagic also always has a method. They always have a reason why they're doing something. And so there may be a much more complicated reason to why they're not adding SDI to the pocket cameras and, you know, their products like the A10 Mini that we just don't know, that or we aren't thinking about it because we're not, you know, involved in the development of these cameras. But yes, missed opportunity, in my opinion, to do that. Let's go over here, just going through your guys' comments. All right, so back over here, trying to see if I missed. I took a bunch of screenshots from the announcement. You know, I was actually kind of hoping in a weird way, and I think you guys are going to think this is just me. I thought they were going to come out with new studio cameras that were studio specific in order to kind of suit a lot of the live streaming stuff that Blackmagic is doing, because, you know, they're I'm actually moving to do a lot more live stream content, and Blackmagic is the way to go, from, you know, their Pocket 4Ks to the 6Ks to the 6K Pro now. I mean, even though we're only doing it in 1080, these cameras work like a charm. So so guys, I think that's really it for some of the stuff that wasn't gone over in the presentation. You know, as far as a wrap up, the Pocket 6K Pro was announced today. It's essentially, you know, to put it simply, it is a Pocket 6K in a little bit of a different form factor, adding ND filters internally, using a Sony MPF battery. There's a few minor different features on there, but the rotating screen, and it is a more professional version of the Pocket 6K, and I guess that's why they went with the Pocket 6K Pro. But I am very excited with this announcement today. I think Blackmagic did a killer job, and, you know, I'm gonna try to wrap this up here soon, only because I'm starting to lose my light, and I have my lights packed away, and it would take me a little bit of time to pack everything out. So I'm just going to open the floor for a few more questions before I wrap this up. Let me take the screen off. Oh, that was not the way to do it. If they released something that was smaller, I'd have immediately canceled my Komodo. Yes, I do agree with you, Ben. I think if Blackmagic, this is not me hating on it. I really like what Blackmagic came out with today. And like I said, whether I buy one in the next few months or I rent one, I am very interested in this camera. But because of the form factor is why I did not immediately purchase. And I don't even know if you can purchase it right now. It may not be available till tomorrow morning. Let's see, today is February 17th. It could be available. It probably is available soon if it's not available now. You know, the modularity is just the one thing they are missing. And, you know, I know I'm not the only one. Being able to mount this thing on, you know, like my Ronin M, I'm gonna have the same issues on my Ronin M with the Pocket 6K Pro as I'm gonna have with the as I had with my Pocket 4K. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Hopefully they will you know, change that soon. Grab this. You can tell it's starting to get darker when the you can see the reflection of the TV that I left on all day. But yeah, guys, so that's kind of it. That was the presentation today. I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that I saw that were not spoken about during the interview today, or during the press announcement, because I found that, you know, the compressions, the being able to shoot in 4K, even the little things such as the 2 1/4-inch threads on the bottom, you know, I think those are some things that some people like me are going to be very interested in. Let's see what kind of cages come out now. Let's see what kind of third-party accessories come out. But I think overall, yes, other than missing the boat on modularity and maybe being able to add SDI, I do think that the Pocket 6K Pro is a great, it's a great step up from the Pocket 6K. I don't think it's going to be the camera that everybody, you know, was looking for. I think a lot of people were thinking they were going to get like an Ursa Mini 4.6K Pocket or something. I mean, look, I thought it was going to be a studio, but I think it was, you know, good for what it was. I think it's going to be a great camera, and I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy using that. So I'm going to leave it here. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, if you guys like what we went over today, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe and notification bell if you guys want to see, you know, when the newest videos come out, when I go live and kind of do these impromptu live videos. Figured we talk about this today, and, you know, it's a great camera. So, you know, it's a great topic for discussion. So till next time, everybody, my name is Geoff Fagien, and I will see you guys in the next video.